Hello everyone. What's there to say about Wilson? He's the guy. Mr. Don't Starve himself. The first character ever conceived for the game way back when he looked like this. But now he looks like this. Sometimes if you're lucky, he can look like this. He is the poster boy of the game and the first character you're heavily recommended to play starting out due to how perfectly bland he may be. But that perfect blandness does not extend to his character. Ish. He's got quite a silly little persona behind all of this gentlemanly, dorky scientist facade. So today, we're going to be exploring this character of him by going over his thoughts and feelings towards every other playable survivor that he's stuck with in the constant world of Don't Starve Together. These are going to be mostly headcanons, whilst there's a lot of character interactions in the game already, I've done several videos on them, there's not too much to write out canonically regarding thoughts and feelings. Let me know your headcanons down below though. Join me on what might be the first part of a, blow my neck, almost 20-part series. Let's start from the top with Willow. Now, quite a few people out there always saw these two as partners, Mr. and Mrs. Don't Starve, due to being the very first characters in the game. But not me. Sorry Willowson enjoyers, that kind of thing is not my bag, baby. No, to me I see Wilson seeing Willow in an almost sibling kind of way, which is a terrible segue from what I just said, I'm aware, but the energy the two share of Willow playing pranks on him and her being disgusted by his weird beard hair rug nature gives me big brother little sister kind of energy. I wish I could explain more how exactly I feel about this, but it just feels these two care about each other in a way where they also want to annoy the life out of each other. Next up we got Wendy. These two don't really interact much, sadly, so my headcanons are going to have to do some really heavy lifting. I'd argue that Wilson gets along well with the kids in The Constant, and a depressed one is far from exempt from that. I bet he obviously feels a sense of sorrow towards her on the account of, hey, there's a child stuck in this heckhole with the rest of us, and not only that, one with a dead sister that floats around behind her and can kick some seriously mad behind. So a mix of sorrow and, I guess, ghosts are real now. I don't see him being too responsible as an adult figure though, that's more Wickerbottom speed. After that we have Wolfgang. I'm now starting to see that these characters barely interact with Wilson due to his blank-ish slate nature, but that's not going to stop me. I bet Wilson feels a sense of superiority over Wolfgang, not for any bad reason, more so out of pride to help the guy. Wolfgang is scared and not the brightest all in the shed, so Wilson probably sees himself as this gentlemanly knight in shining armour to help protect his newfound friend with the power of his mind. Or he secretly hates him because he got bullied at school for not doing sports. Either or. WX78 is up now. Now I imagine Wilson is fascinated with this robot. He's a scientist, and whilst his speciality was more so in alchemy I imagine, he's not going to shy away from a freaking robot. He probably looks right past their evil robot exterior and how rude they may be simply due to the fact that they are a cool robot, and wants to study what makes them tick in a completely not weird way. Just like old Robert Wagglestaff, the guy he's gladly working with. Wickerbottom time. He most definitely respects her. She, much like himself, is somebody who takes pride in their pursuit of knowledge. But not only that, is super nice and caring too. Of course he would respect her. Also probably because she could be strict if she wanted to, and that prospect is a little bit scary. His old university probably had some really strict teachers / librarians. A tired stereotype. And totally not because he blew up the chemistry lab. Though saying all of that, if you look at Wilson's quotes for all of her books, he doesn't really have an interest in any of them. But that's probably because of his superior scientist knowledge and how he knows better than anybody else could, of course. Ah, Woody. Let's say Wilson is fascinated with this guy. He too is kind of a blank slate other than Canadian, so Wilson probably wants to know more about the whole, lycanthropy and talking axe whom is also a wife. But other than that, yeah, he probably thinks Woody is an inoffensive guy most likely, just a bit of a weirdo, and a fascinating one. The only lycanthropes I get along well with are those who like and subscribe, that was god awful, Ash. Wes. Now, how would you feel about a harmless mute mine that blows balloons and gets killed easily? I'd personally think Wilson would be a bit weirded out, I guess? Like, he's not afraid of him or offended by him in any way, but on the other hand, he's probably not too crazy about him. He's glad he's there, but his life wouldn't be too different if he wasn't there. Slightly less jolly though, I bet. And now the one you've probably all been waiting for, Maxwell. These two have had a rather complicated relationship, to put it lightly. He's the sole reason Wilson and almost everybody else is here, and that's shown since Wilson originally hated the guy back when it was everybody for themselves. He tricked Wilson into being stuck into this weird world of endless suffering. But since then, Maxwell fell from the throne and the two had to end up surviving together. Still, Wilson probably had a distrust for the guy, but as time went on, it's difficult to say he still holds the same level of resentment that he did way back then. The time they spent surviving together has probably relaxed the tension a little bit. And now, whilst I wouldn't say he particularly likes him, he would at least extend a friendly hand towards him if he needed it, if only to be the better man in the situation. From enemies to decent rivals, I'd say. If you want to know the exact energy I'm referring to, basically how they were on that one comic Clay made many moons ago. Now it's time for the expansion cast now, and let's start with Weber. He probably is deep down a mix of freaked out, concerned, and intrigued about what exactly Weber is, as he goes against everything modern science has ever taught him. But despite that, he probably still cares about him since, you know, he's a kid. And like I said about Wendy earlier, I doubt Wilson is the most responsible adult on the archipelago. But being a gentlemanly scientist probably means he cares a little bit about the well-being of the kids too, Spider or not. Just look at his quotes for the Switcherdoodles. He's so sweet and reluctant. Wilson probably views Wigfrid in a respectful light. She can look after herself and, in Wilson's own words, ain't in the market for getting a punch from her. Honestly, not much to say about her. I bet he's too much of a gentleman to even question her Valkyrie behaviour. Just let the girl have a hobby, Wilson. As for Warley, well, the same way everybody views the guy. A walking, talking crockpot. Now, he probably is super thankful for the guy and grateful for everything he does. I'm not one to question Wilson's own cooking skills, but being offered proper, chef-quality food in a world where starving is the entire gimmick probably feels blooming amazing. Thank you, Warley. I'm probably going to cite this reason for all of the character videos, ain't I? Mark my words. But now it's Wormwood. Probably the same way he views WX and Weber. Fascination. What is this weird leafy man? How does he do the things that he does? How can he speak English? Science must be able to explain it. But don't forget, he's a gentleman first and a scientist second, so he treats the leafy man with respect first and foremost, and then takes notes when he's not looking. Now it's time for the DST gang. Let's start with Warthogs. Now I'm going to actually mention that Wilson does seem kinda distrustful of the guy, especially since that last animated short, with his whole pranking nature and interdimensional properties. Maybe he's worried that he knows something that he doesn't. Maybe he's worried that he'll hurt those that he cares about. I don't ever see that happening, but you never know, huh? Winona is a little bit of a tricky one. He probably respects her work ethic as an engineer and knowledge as one to boot, but their connections to Wagstaff might make things a little more interesting between them. Do you think they ever had the chance to talk about the guy with each other? Wilson is open to working with Wagstaff as we've seen in that one animated short, and Winona has the option to side with him by using insight. So do you think Wilson is interested in her due to her connections with Wagstaff? Or just likes her because she make her the cool robot? Only time will tell if we'll ever see how that can of worms unfolds. My main time, words. As much as it pains me to say, I feel like Wilson is kind of on the fence about words. Like, a little bit distrustful with the fact that a living merm, something he's had a lot of experience with in the past, is currently crashing with the gang and raising a merm uprising on their home turf. But on the other hand, it's also just a kid. Come on Wilson, she's cute. You can't be suspicious of her. Don't forget, you're a gentleman. Now honestly, he probably still likes her despite all of that though. Gotta be some respect for seeing this weird diseased swamp creature somehow raised to become a queen of them. I think Wilson is kind of proud of Walter in all honesty. This kid is fearless in a world full of fear, and brave in a world full of cowardice. Now, like I mentioned 3 times already, he's not the best of kids I bet, but he doesn't need to be with Walter since he's incredibly mature and helpful to look after the other kids so he doesn't have to. Also, his tents are super useful and he's mega grateful for them. And I bet you that Walter laughs at all of Wilson's stupid puns. You cannot deny me that. And finally, time for Wanda. Now, I could go on about how he's fascinated with her utilization of shadow magic and clockwork, and how mysterious she may be, but no. I bet Wilson sees her as a rival. All of those clock puns she keeps making, those are his puns. There's only room for one eye-rolling causing survivor in the constant, and we don't have time for two. Or maybe he loves her for her puns, and thinks she's super cool because of them. What do you think? Run-on rivals, or punny pals? Oh my god, what did I just say? And that's that. Those are my thoughts on Wilson's thoughts on all of the playable survivors in Don't Starve Together. If you want to know his thoughts on the other non-playable characters, we'll wait for a future video. For now though, let me know who I should do next. Should I keep going in chronological order and do Willow, or spice it up and do somebody else? Let me know in the comments down below, or on the Discord. But until then, thank you all so much for watching, and have a lovely day. Bye bye everybody.